I am bullish about Performance Max, even Performance Max kind of leaning into YouTube. We're testing different creative strategies inside of Performance Max. Of course, we get some of our top of funnel videos that we put in Performance Max. But we're also trying more like focused product demo type videos.
Welcome to today's VidTao podcast. This is VidTao Co-Founder Ian Nagy, and today we're going to be talking with Mr. Brett Curry, founder of OMG Commerce. Brett is one of the real originals when it comes to paid ads for e-commerce, specifically around YouTube, Google, Amazon, and he's got a ton of really great strategy and tactical insights to share today. We're going to talk about why Amazon ads are probably something you're overlooking if you are trying to grow a brand. We're going to talk about Performance Max, YouTube, Google Shopping, paid search, just a bunch of really great stuff that Brett's going to share. Can't wait to share it with you, so let's get right into the show. This podcast is brought to you by VidTao.com. VidTao is our free YouTube ad library and spy tool, research tool. It's VidTao.com. At VidTao, we have close to 1 million unlisted YouTube video ads that you can search, find, discover how they're doing on a day-by-day basis, so you can really see what ads your competitors are running, see ads in different markets that you can model to create new winning ads for yourself, and a whole lot more. It's all there inside VidTao.com. Plus, we have a premium edition. So the database is free to access, but then we also have a premium edition where you have full unlimited access to the database. And inside there, we also provide training. So we also run an agency called Inceptly. That's INCEPTLY, Inceptly.com, where we've managed over $150 million on YouTube. It's a video traffic agency, and we've worked with everyone from brands like Descript.com, Huel, to real scrappy direct response, info products, supplements, health, beauty, e-commerce, you name it, we've done it, and love sharing what we've learned. Every week we drop new training in there, everything from YouTube ad media buying to running e-commerce creatives on YouTube, to hardcore tracking and attribution tutorials to really level up your data science game for advertising, and everything in between. Right now, as we speak, we're working on a training regarding YouTube Shorts. Hopefully we'll be live by the time you hear this. On and on and on. This is our passion, is video advertising, and we want to share it with you inside of VidTao Premium. And actually right now, for a limited time, you can get access to VidTao Premium for a very special price. So if you go to VidTao.com, sign up for free, check out the database, upgrade to Premium for this very special price, you'll get access to all of the database and all the trainings. And also wanted to add that at Inceptly, we do free brainstorm calls with clients like you. So if you ever want to get help or ask questions about your YouTube ads, your video traffic on other platforms, we're available to chat. Just go to inceptly.com/call, CALL, and set up a time to chat. It's free, and we'd love to speak with you. Our team's waiting to speak with you. So without further ado, let's get into the show. Brett, welcome to our VidTao podcast. Great to have you on here.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. Big fan of what you guys do at VidTao, and just excited to be here.
Yeah, so thank you so much. And, you've always been someone that we looked up to in terms of being on the cutting edge of, just paid ads specifically for e-commerce. But I can remember, I think like 6 or 7 years ago, a podcast you did where you were talking about, the opportunities of YouTube specifically. You've been in the game a long time, and you've kind of been a forerunner in making things happen for a lot of people. I'm just curious, just taking a really broad viewpoint, 50,000 foot view, how have you seen things change over the past X number of years you've been running OMG Commerce and just helping companies scale?
Yeah, it's been really interesting. I think the industry is changing very rapidly, and so the best marketers, the best agencies have to be pretty flexible and pretty willing to get outside their comfort zone a little bit and do things that they maybe haven't done before, right? What's interesting, I think at the core, marketing is still the same, right? We're trying to deliver the right message to the right person at the right time and show them why we're better, why we're different, why we're cool, why they should care, and why they should take action. But the tools and the approaches and the way to go about things have shifted, right? And so, one of the big shifts, we were an early adopter of Google Shopping. And in fact, the first, 10 or 15 speaking gigs I had at different e-commerce conventions were all about Google Shopping. And it was getting tactical and like, how do we bid up and bid down on these products? And we would download spreadsheets and bid up a few pennies and bid down a few pennies. And we had these formulas, and it was super fun. We were really good at it, right? But that all went away. Like that went away when, and we initially resisted like target return on ad spend bidding, but over time we saw, man, this is really good, and the machine is better than we are, and so we just have to roll with it, right? And so I think that's kind of like an example of, hey, we still think about Google Shopping in similar ways, right? We're optimizing the feed. We want the best image, the best title, the best description. We want reviews. We want to think about who should be seeing these ads. But now the campaign structure is different, right? We're letting the algorithm do a lot of the work, right? So now we're focusing a little more on the creative and the strategy piece, and we're trying to channel the algorithm. I think the same is true for YouTube. And you're right, I was an early adopter on YouTube. It was kind of I did TV previously. I used to do a lot of offline marketing. And so I saw the power of video firsthand and how to kind of make, even a celebrity of like a local car dealership or something. Mm-hmm. So huge fan of video, got into SEO and paid search and stuff. And then when I saw YouTube, I was like, whoa, this is like the convergence of all my worlds, right? It's video and it's search and it's keyword intent and all this stuff. And so love YouTube. I think YouTube is similar as well, in that now we're really kind of coaching and training the algorithm. We still have to think about the creative strategy. We still have to think about our audience strategy. We still have to think about campaign structure, but it's more like we're guiding the algorithm, right? And so one of the one analogy that I really like, I don't know if you're into football or not, Ian, but I'm a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. Nice. Patrick Mahomes, and I've been a Chiefs fan for a long time. I just want to make that public. I was rooting for them. Yeah, I was rooting for them, and I welcome any bandwagon fan. It's fun to have extra fans. Of course. But I was a fan in the dark days. All my family was from Kansas City, and so. But anyway, I love this analogy of like an offensive coordinator, mm-hmm. or where the offensive coordinator is thinking about, okay, what talent do I need on the field, and given that talent, what play do I call, and then given the way the defense responds and the way the market reacts, how do I call my next play, and how do I adjust this? And I think that's similar to what we should do as marketers, right? We're thinking about what platforms, what campaigns, what creatives, what do we need to, what play do we need to architect here? And then let's get feedback. Let's see how it went, and let's dial up the next play. And so we're not on the field, right? We're not on the field like tweaking bids and bidding up and down like we used to. There's still a little bit of that, but we're more above and kind of moving bigger pieces around. But it's interesting, we've kind of wondered, and I've talked to other agency people, and I've talked to folks that say, hey, agencies, they're not going to be necessary. Agencies are going to go away. I think people need agencies more now than they did 5 years ago, right? And then there's still more interest. I mean, who knows what the next 10 or 15 years hold, but still great need for what you and I do in terms of strategic direction, consulting, looking at it from the big picture perspective. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it and thinking about it right now.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense. And to take the football analogy, the offensive coordinator analogy a step further, I mean, how do you go about actually evaluating the players, whether they're actual individuals or talking about assets? What's the sort of first step you go into when you step into a new business and you're looking at, the tools you have to work with? Like, I'm just curious about your approach with that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm almost tempted to switch to a basketball analogy. But
Nice, go for it.
Stick with football, just to be consistent here.
Yep.
But I think a lot of times when we're looking at a new account, we're looking at we're doing an audit or kind of walking through an account with a client or potential client. There's usually a lot of kind of the blocking and tackling, the basics that are off, right? And you see this week in and week out if you're watching the NFL. And my apologies if you're international audience, you're like, I don't care about American football. I like the real football, World Cup and whatnot. But you've got to have like The offensive line, the reason why like the first couple of picks often in a draft are offensive linemen or defensive linemen is because that's critical. Like without that, you're hosed. Doesn't matter if you got Patrick Mahomes back there, if he doesn't have any time to throw the football or you can't get your running game going. And so we look at kind of the blocking and tackling elements. So some of the basics. And we've kind of got these like 4 pillars of Google. We talk about search, and we do start with branded search, and there are reasons to go branded search. I know there's some reasons to not spend a lot on branded search, but search is kind of one of those pillars. Shopping, we still like standard shopping, but Performance Max is kind of the future. And surprisingly enough, I don't know about you, Ian, but I kind of like Performance Max. I thought I would hate it. I was pretty anti. I was old curmudgeon when I first heard about Performance Max, but we spent, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 million on the platform so far, potentially a little bit more, and it's pretty exciting. And so we can get into that more later if you want to. But so search, shopping, we like to look at remarketing. So display and discovery in YouTube. So remarketing, and then YouTube top of funnel. So those are kind of 4. Those are the kind of the pillars. But really, got to get the bottom filled in first. I got to have that strong foundation. You got to have that strong offensive line, right, to free everything else up. So the search, shopping, and remarketing. Because often what happens, like if you're running top of funnel Facebook, top of funnel YouTube, if someone doesn't buy right then, which most people don't, the next thing they're going to do is search for it, right? And you never know what they're going to remember from that Facebook or YouTube video and how they're going to search. We saw this a lot with Boom by Cindy Joseph, Ezra's company, where they were kind of a pioneer in talking about pro-age cosmetics. So not anti-age, but like embrace where you are, embrace this stage in your life. You're powerful, you're beautiful, let your hair go gray if you want. Not trying to turn back the clock, we're trying to just look awesome right now. Anyway, that led to some really interesting searches. People wouldn't always remember Boom, or they'd remember Boom, but by somebody else, not Cindy Joseph, right? There's all kinds of keywords that people were typing in after they saw these brilliant videos. So you got to think about that foundation. So we like to lay that first. So without the blocking and tackling, without the basics, the fundamentals, you really can't get creative and go beyond that because you're going to be wasting a lot of ad spend and you won't be converting enough people. So we do like to still look at the foundation.
Makes a lot of sense. I'm curious how your creative strategies, it's actually really interesting. You talk about search as the foundation. How are your top of funnel strategies influenced by what you're seeing taking place on those, basic search blocking and tackling level? I'm just curious about that approach.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So, we do like to look at the search term reports, and sometimes those are not as informative as they used to be. And, Google is kind of hiding more data, but there's also creative ways to get in there and find some data. I do like to look at what people are searching. One, it allows us to know how we need to shift our search strategy, but sometimes it can inform what you even put into the video, right? And even maybe a potential idea for a hook or something you need to clarify in the video. But what we're seeing, again, kind of looking at the high level perspective for top of funnel, a lot of the core is still the same, right? You still got to hook people. You still got to lead with a strong benefit. You still got to overcome objections. You still got to show some social proof and show real people using the product and saying how great it is. And you still got to have a call to action. But we are trying and testing new creatives and new ways of approaching things. And you got YouTube Shorts, which is kind of creating new opportunities. And so lots we can unpack there, but the core is still the same, but we're definitely tweaking how we're structuring videos and length of videos if we're doing YouTube Shorts and things like that.
Got it. So you're seeing some good action on Shorts these days as well.
Yeah, I mean it's not huge yet. It's still new, but we have several advertisers that are doing well. We've worked with native deodorant, although now it's just native, right? Because they're nice. Into hair care and sun care and go way beyond deodorant at this point. But they're having a lot of success with Shorts. And so they're primarily using influencer content and UGC content. We're mashing that up into shorter videos, 60 seconds and less. We're running those on Shorts and they're doing well. They're doing really well. So we'll see. There's still a lot to be determined on Shorts. We don't have the tens of millions of dollars in spend, on shorts like we do in other parts of YouTube to know, with a great deal of certainty. But I'm optimistic about shorts for sure.
Do you think that we're going to have the ability to specifically target shorts as a placement in the future?
I think so, but I don't know. With the recent changes Google's introduced, right, which I would love to hear your perspective on this too, like with all the content targeting basically going away, right? No keywords, no placements, no topics, which I don't really care about the topic. I think like that never worked for us, but keywords and placements did. So with that going away, I don't know. It's hard to say exactly what Google's going to remove and what they're going to keep. We found some ways though to kind of lean into shorts, and I'm kind of at a stage now where I'm working more on the strategic level, and I'm not managing the day-to-day of campaigns. But one of my specialists, Greg, was just showing me this the other day, where he was getting campaigns to really lean into shorts. And basically part of that was, you're running kind of the vertical ads. It's a certain length. And then he was excluding certain placements, like excluding tablet and desktop. And there's something else he was doing. I'm drawing a blank on, but he was getting campaigns to lean into shorts pretty heavily.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's great to see that. Love that. It is really interesting. I think just politically, it seems like there's a good chance that TikTok could be banned in the US at some point. And at which point, it's one of these things. So it definitely seems like Google would be well positioned to just step in there and take that. So.
Yeah, they would. And just kudos to YouTube. Like YouTube's been around forever, but they're still so relevant. I have teenagers. I don't know if you know this, team, but I have eight kids. So
you got 8 kids. My goodness.
8 kids, dude. So that's
work.
One of the way people remember me, like, hey, he's the YouTube guy, and he's also the crazy dude with not Amish, not Catholic, just has a lot of kids. Anyway, nice. But I've got 3 teenagers and then a 20-year-old. But all of them are on YouTube heavily, right? That's where they find their entertainment. That's where they research to learn how to do things. Like all of them on YouTube very frequently. They're all on Instagram as well. A couple of them are on TikTok for sure. None of them are on Facebook, not a single one. And I'm so bullish on Facebook. Like I'm not, obviously this is my family, but I hear this from I'm asking teens. I'm the nerdy dad as kids come over. I'm like, hey, so like, what are you doing with social media right now? They're like, what? I want to learn. So we always have teens coming over, but they're all using YouTube. And I think YouTube, the future is still bright for YouTube, man. Like I think it's just going to be really, really good. And the user experience for shorts is pretty great, and now, and I know you know this, I'm preaching to the choir here, but Google in the old days, YouTube was all search, right? People would find videos because of search. And now it's like north of 50%, I think of all views now are algorithmic, right? Where YouTube is saying, hey, you're going to like this video, right? And so which totally ties into the way TikTok works and Instagram Reels and whatnot. So I'm pretty bullish about shorts. And who knows about TikTok? I think there's a good chance something's going to happen there at some point. But regardless, and then that's also one of those things where I think you can use some of your TikTok content and Instagram Reels content, maybe with a little tweaking, to run on shorts. I think that they're pretty similar model there. Absolutely.
And then it's great we have all these younger people using YouTube. It's just part of their existence, and everyone in between. Boomers too. We run a lot of traffic, right? So it's like my parents in their 70s are all over YouTube, and it is amazing. And the algorithmic part continues to blow my mind. Like I get interested in a new topic, and then all of a sudden my feed is just filled with all these things, and I love it. Actually, it's a great for user experience.
I do too. Yeah, and I think that's what part of why, like the average YouTube session is like 40 minutes or whatever, but. One interesting thing too that I also pay attention to and hear is I've heard a few friends say like, hey, so last night we were hanging as a family, and so we went downstairs to watch YouTube together. Like, well, that's interesting, right? So there's a growing amount of viewership on TV for YouTube as well, and so those are targeting options now inside of YouTube, or some automatic placements as well. But very bullish on the scope of YouTube.
So actually, it's an interesting point you just brought up, and we're actually working on an email about this topic, and I would love to get your feedback, especially given your background in TV prior to all the digital stuff. But so, for instance, we saw this. There's this bear. What is it called? Bear skins jackets. Have you seen these jackets?
I'm not.
Okay, so they're spending a lot. Like if you look in VidTao, they're spending a lot on YouTube. And then I've been getting hit with. I've been visiting my parents here and watching YouTube like a TV, like a lot of us do, right? Primarily, I think that it's crossed over above Netflix now, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of like TV viewership. Anyways, so same ads I've been seeing on my desktop YouTube, but with a QR code, right? So on the TV placement, which is brilliant, right? And we know, like talking about football last year, right? The Coinbase ad that just like definitely proved the proof of concept that people will use QR codes on TV.
It's basically just the QR code, right, on the screen with maybe some little animation or something.
Exactly.
But yes, I don't remember the numbers, but a crazy amount of people scanned the QR code and downloaded that. So yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts on TV as like YouTube for TV as a performance placement?
Yeah, so we have looked at the TV placement to try to break down performance. I think there's a case to be made, probably depending on where you are, like in your the growth cycle of your business, where if you really need to hit a CPA target and there's not a lot of wiggle room, and so you're kind of early and you're scaling, a couple million to 5 million, whatever a year in annual run rate, maybe you need to stick to traditional placements where you've got a higher degree of certainty that we've got some click and view attribution, that we can lean on to and feel pretty good about through whatever third party we're using, which I love, Northbeam and Triple Whale. There's a few others. Mm-hmm. And then you can expand to placements on TV. We're still testing it, right? So we're looking at TV placements a lot for different mm-hmm. clients. It's been a little bit hit or miss. We haven't seen like a consistent, like, oh, this is always a winner. I do love that idea, because a lot of people aren't going to click and try to get to a browser on their TV. A lot of TVs do have browsers, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. but they're just terrible. Like nobody enjoys that experience. So it's definitely going to be one of those, checking it on your phone while you're watching. So I love the QR code strategy. We have not tested that. But to me, I think that's one where you could really unlock performance, right? Mm-hmm. Where you get the QR code, a specific lander that you're only using for specific videos, so that it makes tracking and attribution really easy. So I think that is going to be a real winner. We've just not tested that much at this point.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, it's super early days for us on that as well. But it's exciting to see that. Given that we're usually excluding it as performance marketers, we're usually kind of avoiding that. Exactly. And those users are still there watching stuff on TV. So. Users
are still there, and then they're likely logged into they are logged into YouTube. So Google can kind of try to connect that, especially if you got enhanced conversions turned on. So we're seeing view through conversions on TV placements. But yeah, I do think this kind of goes back to the importance of good marketers and agencies and strategists is think about that creative strategy. So that viewing experience, the mindset and the experience is different when you're watching YouTube on TV than when you're watching on your phone, on your tablet, on your desktop. So how do we need to tweak the creative? And maybe it's mostly the same, mm-hmm. but you have the QR code and the call to action is just a little bit different. So there's no reason it shouldn't work. I think it should work really, really well. But I think that the QR code is probably the next thing to test for most people.
Yeah, it was really interesting in this case that this video was a separate channel, and it was a guy doing a gear review, and it was straight into like a kind of a QVC type experience. Like, hey, check out, I got all these pockets here, and it was like -20 yesterday. I was super warm, and then but the QR code was there the whole time. It was like save 60%. Boom. Yeah. And so it will be really interesting to see coming up this year and beyond. But I mean, so I really love what you're talking about with like the Boom by Cindy reframing you're talking about strategy and going from anti-aging to sort of, I think you put it pro-age.
Pro-age, yeah. Pro-age.
Yeah, I mean, like, how do you that's a really brilliant, just complete flip on everything. How do you on a strategic level, how do you typically approach really trying to find the best type of framing for these offers, for these businesses?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, as far as Boom goes, that's full credit to Ezra Firestone, the CEO, and then the co-founder Cindy Joseph. They really kind of nailed that. And Cindy Joseph was and then she passed away a couple years ago, but she was a makeup artist for Hollywood, and then she just decided to let her hair go gray. And then she ended up becoming a model, and then as she started kind of looking at, hey, how are women treated in society, right? Women are most valued in some ways in society when they're young and beautiful, right? So 20s, 30s, like that's when they're the best, or they're the most valued. Men, we're more valued on what we produce, and when are we at our peak earning potentials, right? 40s, 50s, whatever, and beyond. And so they were like, hey, this is BS, right? There's no reason that a woman in her 50s, 60s, is less valuable than a younger woman. And so they kind of came up with that messaging. And so then it was a matter of really just, finding the right people to go in the ads, and finding the right tone, finding the right UGC to mix in there. And then combining that with some of Cindy's messages. And as Cindy's talking, like people immediately are, gravitate towards her. Right. And so really Boom had this vision and this positioning, and then we just kind of helped them through the campaign structure, through data, really bring the message to life there. But it was interesting, one thing that they found, as we experimented, and then they had like an ambassador program, right, where they're getting a lot of UGC from a lot of the women that love Boom. And they decided to start testing some of the younger women that use Boom, because it's a product that'll work for anybody, right? It's just most natural, and it's safe and all that. So they're like, hey, we're starting to talk pro age, but let's put slightly younger women in there, like later 40s or whatever, because we all kind of, the way we view ourselves is probably younger than we actually are, right? They got negative feedback, so they ran these ads with slightly younger women, and people complained. They're like, hey, this isn't me. Like this isn't the Boom audience, right? And the performance wasn't as good, and so they moved away from that, right? They try to find women that really look like their target audience. And so I think that's one of those powerful messages of remembering that the prospect needs to see themselves in the ad, right? They need to be able to see it and say, that's me. I remember I heard this from a copywriter, Gary Bencivenga, from years and years ago. He said the most powerful word in advertising is no longer free, but it's for, F-O-R. This is for me. This was made for my situation, for people like me, for people experiencing what I'm experiencing. And so someone has to see themselves in the ad and in the product, or they're not going to take action.
Wow. That's so strong. Most powerful word is for, not free. That's fantastic.
For, not free. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. Love Gary Bencivenga. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. Dude's wicked smart.
So smart. That's fantastic. What are you most excited about for 2023 in terms of, I know you got a lot going on. You've been established, and what are you most excited about in terms of as a company, as an agency, and also and how that ties in with what you're doing for your client, your partners, et cetera?
Yeah. So a couple of things about the agency that are just kind of new that we're excited about. We launched an email and SMS service department in the agency about a year ago. It's going really, really well, and it's one of those things we thought about for a long time. Been a big believer in it, obviously, for forever. But it really ties in nicely, pairs nicely with top of funnel YouTube and other top of funnel efforts. Just launched a native ad offering, which I'm super excited about. I kind of had a front row seat and been a part of some native campaigns with other strategists, and so pretty excited about that. It's like your Taboola and Outbrain and things like that. So pretty excited about that. But I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention Amazon briefly, and I'll get back to some thoughts on YouTube. But there's still, I think, a lot of D2C merchants out there that have built a successful brand, successful store on Shopify or BigCommerce or whatever, that have not launched on Amazon, but they're thinking about it, and maybe they're about to. And so another example, and I'll use Boom again because Ezra doesn't mind me sharing his numbers, but we helped Boom launch on Amazon. They were not there for the longest time, a little over a year ago, maybe year and a half. I'm terrible with dates. Anyway, first year though they launched on Amazon, it was a net 15% increase in revenue, so about 6 million in revenue the first year, and no cannibalization of other channels. So, right, there's just a lot. If you're doing anything aggressively on YouTube, on Facebook, on TikTok, Instagram, wherever, you're driving traffic to Amazon, right? Now, some of those people may go to Amazon. If they don't see you, they'll come back to your website. But a lot of people won't, right? I think about like my dad or my grandparents, like if they buy anything online, which they don't always, but if they buy anything online, it's going to be on Amazon, right? And so there's a number of people. There's a lot of people that begin on Amazon. There's a lot of people that only buy on Amazon. So you got to think about that. And the way Amazon has shifted, I think it's set up really in a nice way where you can build a brand on Amazon. You don't have to play price games necessarily. You can build like your storefront on Amazon, which is almost like a little pop-up shop. So think about if you go into Best Buy, you see the Apple experience inside of Best Buy, or the Google Home experience inside of Best Buy. You can kind of do something similar now on Amazon. You can build out your product detail pages with lots of branding and A+ content and stuff. So anyway, I think we're going to continue to see D2C brands that say we need to strategically add Amazon, but add it in a way that builds our brand, not in a way that it runs it. And so I think that's going to continue to grow for sure. And I'm a bit of an optimist, Ian. I don't know. I think that's probably why I've like gravitated towards entrepreneurship. I always believe the next year is going to be the best, right?
Yeah.
And I do know we're going to face some headwinds, right, in the economy. Who knows exactly? But I think it's going to be a good year for YouTube, man. We started to see a trend this last year where some, multi-7-figure a month advertisers started to spend as much on YouTube and Google as they were on Facebook, right? And so for quite a while, we had a lot of people that, there was just the golden era of Facebook. And so Facebook was kind of the number one channel and there was everything else. We're starting to see now some people that spend maybe as much on YouTube as they do on Facebook or more. And I think that's going to continue. And again, I'm still bullish on Facebook, still recommend it, still use it. Certainly not proclaiming the death of Facebook or anything like that. But I think YouTube's going to be a really good year. What I think is going to happen is also Performance Max is going to account for at least some of your YouTube spend. My original prediction was that a scaling brand, 30% of their YouTube spend would be on Performance Max. I don't know. I may be walking that back a little bit. I still think that's probably gonna happen eventually. So far, and again, we spent 5 or 6 million on Performance Max. We really only had a handful of clients for Performance Max. You could tell it was really leaning into YouTube, and so it seems like, and there are ways now. There are scripts you can run inside of Google Ads that will pull out your exact channel spend at the campaign and at the asset group level, which is kind of a game changer. So there's some scripts you can run there. But I am bullish about if you feed the algorithm the right data, right? And I love Performance Max because you got the shopping component, high purchase intent, high conversion rate. Google really begins to learn that buyer, and then to have YouTube running there alongside it with the right campaign segmentation and stuff. So I am bullish about Performance Max, even Performance Max kind of leaning into YouTube. We're testing different creative strategies inside of Performance Max. Of course, we get some of our top of funnel videos that we put in Performance Max, but we're also trying more like focused product demo type videos, right? Just to see, because I wonder if there's kind of slightly more mid and bottom of funnel placements when YouTube is inside of Performance Max. Still don't know 100%, but so we're testing slightly shorter videos in Performance Max and some that are more product demonstration focused. So we'll see how that goes. But I think it's going to be a big year for YouTube. I think Performance Max is going to continue to thrive. It's interesting though. I'd be curious your perspective, Ian. It's fairly split. I talked to a lot of, I'm in some forums and talked to other agency owners, and it's pretty split. I for a while, I was a PMax hater, or just skeptical, grumpy. Just grumpy about it. I was like, Google's trying to take away all controls. As we started playing with it, we're like, wait a minute, we actually have quite a bit that we can control and play with here. And then it's been almost across the board, like very few exceptions. Performance actually just worked. It's worked well. But I hear from a lot of people that it's not, that it's been like a train wreck. I've got some theories on that, but how's Performance Max worked for you guys, or have you dabbled in it much to this point?
Yeah, I mean, we always are testing Performance Max. I would say it's mixed bag in terms of we're not. It seems like, and there are people on our team can speak much more detail about this than I can, but yeah, in general, I would say that we're a bit skeptical in that we feel like it does sort of cannibalize some low-hanging fruit, that just like the numbers do seem somewhat inflated. But then again, like we're always testing it. And just like you're saying, things seem to be moving in that direction where, you're giving Google more of the controls and saying, hey, go find me customers. Here are the variables that I can control, and understanding, with those variables that you can control, signals and the creatives, what kind of effect that can have. So we will continue to test it. And, I don't think that our take is in any way definitive at all. So yeah, that's the thing.
It's still early innings on Performance Max, right? It's still early. I'm just using all the sports analogies today. I don't know where this all comes from.
The trifecta,
yeah. It's still early in the game.
Got a hat trick. Get the hockey in there too. Get the hat trick.
I gotta go. Stay where the puck is going, Ian, not where the puck is. But yeah. So what I've found though, Performance Max is, it is going to find like the deficiencies or the gaps in your account and go after opportunities. So if you've got a really poorly built branded search campaign structure, it's probably going to lean into branded search. Now, I may do it anyway, just to like get conversions and stuff. But we like to build out pretty well thought out branded search campaigns, and often multiple campaigns, some where we're like excluding past buyers, some where we're targeting past buyers. There's different ways we look at it. Also, if you've got a pretty weak non-brand search structure, it's going to maybe lean into that as well. So it can kind of show you, I think, deficiencies in your account structure. But if you've got some of those components, if you're just crushing it on branded search, Performance Max is going to lean into it less. And I think it really comes down to just a few things with Performance Max. I'll just kind of throw this out there. We created a guide on it that's free that anyone can download. But you got to get the right asset group structure. So how are you products together? Because you got to have your product listings, which is your feed, images, videos, headlines, descriptions, all that's got to be together. So the way you segment your assets really matters. The audience signals you give Google really matters. But this is one of those Google recommendations that we found to be true. If you give Google some custom segments, like custom intent audiences, and your data, like buyers, and you feed that to the campaign or to the asset group, tends to work better, right? And this is where Google's going to go beyond it, right? It's not audience targeting, it's audience signals. But we found, for the most part, campaigns, asset groups work better when you give Google both of those signals. And then also kind of the bid structure matters too, and kind of how you start and how you scale. Often starting a little more open and then narrowing down before you really scale. So a few of those things I think need to be in place. And it's all about the assets, right? Like if you're giving it crappy images and bad videos, or letting Google create videos automatically for you, like that's not going to work, So anyway, I'm pretty bullish on Performance Max. So we'll see. I think this will be a big year for Performance Max as well.
Where can we get your guide? Definitely want to check that out.
It's on the site, omgcommerce.com. So omgcommerce.com/guides.
Got it.
And then it's there. It says PMax Blueprint, and it's free to download. Awesome. There. So
definitely
check it out.
Definitely want to check that out. I wanted to revisit something you talked about earlier, which is I'd never thought of it this way till you mentioned it, but Amazon is sort of like it's like a parallel to owning your branded search, whether that's via SEO or paid. Yeah. I never thought about it till you mentioned that. That's super interesting. What would you say I know that you and your team do all this on Amazon. What would you say for people who are reluctant to actually launch on Amazon because of cannibalizing their own funnel, et cetera? What are some ways? How can you sort of make people less scared about doing that, and ways to sort of to launch your best practices for that?
Yeah, so a couple of thoughts there. One, going back to the native deodorant example, Moiz Ali, founder, friend of mine, we kind of worked with him in the early days, and now work with P&G. But one of the things he said, and he held off on Amazon for quite some time, and they launched, And he said, man, I wish we would have done it sooner, right? There was very little cannibalization. It was immediate growth. He didn't say he wished he'd done it at the very beginning, right? Because they were building their D2C brand and building up this awareness and this demand for their brand. But then, he said he still wished he'd done it a little bit sooner. And he's quoted it and published online saying that. One of the things too, and I'll give another example, a large hair care brand, it wasn't native, it wasn't Boom, but large hair care brand, they're spending, like $500,000 to $800,000 a month or so on YouTube. When iOS 14.5 first launched, right, they felt like their tracking was all messed up. So for a period of time, paused all YouTube, paused all Facebook, just paused all of it, done. We were managing their Amazon. And it was interesting. Like we could see their branded search campaigns, and we're talking like these things were cut in half. Wow. Over the next few weeks. They just really, really plummeted. But they turned it back on, and they got back on the platform. It was all fine. They just had to kind of figure how to get their bearings, But just again, it was a reminder to me of like, okay, if you're doing anything top of funnel, anything, you're driving traffic to Amazon. You're building sales on Amazon, regardless. One thing we noticed with Boom is because they hadn't been there and they hadn't been there for so long, there was a lot of brands that were just kind of squatting on the name Boom. Right? Wow. So again, kind of going back to the people that are like, well, I only buy on Amazon. There's nothing else. So I'm just going to buy this other product here that's bidding on Boom or showing up for Boom. So those competitors, like they attacked us, man. Like it was gnarly for a while. But we got brand registered. Our team, Amber, my Amazon director, she's a bulldog, and she got stuff taken care of. But it was a little bit tricky in the beginning. Amazon does have more protections in place now than ever before. So you get brand registered, right? You go to trademark. There's a brand registry process you go through with Amazon, and then you can. Someone else tries to sell under your name, or they try to resell your products, like you can get that shut down. Wow. It's not always super easy. There's still, Amazon's it's a bit tricky. There's some hoops you got to jump through, but there are brand protections. When you're brand registered, you can also create a storefront, right? Which is kind of like that. It's the digital version of the Apple store inside of Best Buy, right? So you can create that. And for me, one of the arguments a lot of people made was like, hey, if someone buys on Amazon, then you're Amazon's customer. You're not your customer. I'd say, well, I think sometimes yes, but not always. So example, like I buy a pizza cutter or a spatula on Amazon. I don't know what the brand is. I don't really care. Like someone asked me, it was bought on Amazon. I don't know. However, to stick with a cooking example, there's my favorite seasoning for like meat rubs and other things is this company called Cosmos Q. And then we've run their market. So full disclosure, they're a client. That's how I tested them. But they become my favorite, like hands down my favorite. But I buy it on Amazon, right? Which like automatic reorder because we use this seasoning all the time. But if somebody asks me like, hey, what seasoning do you recommend? I don't say, oh, it's on Amazon. I say, Cosmos Q. And here's why it's great. It's small batch. They made it in Oklahoma. It's just my favorite one is just salt, pepper, garlic. It's just that's it. Just salt, pepper, garlic. It's brilliant. It's amazing. The flavor is really just spot on. It's the right balance. So that's a brand, right? I don't give credit to Amazon. I may buy it on Amazon, but I'm a customer of that brand. Yep. And so we share that a lot. And then I don't know what all you're seeing, Ian, but I hear just a lot of people saying, hey, the pure D2C, like pure D2C, where it's just selling on my Shopify store or whatever, and that's it. That's really direct to consumer. That may not be that viable if you really want to scale, if you really want to grow, you probably can't just do that, right? Yep. You've got, and we're seeing this with a lot of our bigger clients, and Native as an example, you get to a certain point and you need to go in store, right? And then you need to go marketplaces, right? Yep. Amazon controls 50% plus or more of e-commerce. So you got to get on marketplaces. You maybe look at Walmart.com. So I think there's a point in your growth life cycle where you got to consider marketplaces and other distribution. And so Amazon obviously is the first place to go if you're going to go marketplace. So I'm bullish there. And the reason I'm more excited now because I believe in brands. I believe in building brands. And now Amazon has the tools and the protections and the structure in place. It's not perfect, but you can really build a brand and enhance your brand on Amazon rather than just cannibalizing it.
Got it. Makes sense. And then how are you handling like how is the LTV for Amazon customers versus like people who come through your own funnels? And this is my ignorance showing, but like how do you follow up? How do you tap into that buyer list on Amazon? Are there ways of actually integrating that with your main, email follow up, et cetera?
Yeah, and this is also where there's some technical pieces. I understand Amazon from a strategic perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I really got to lean on my team because I'm not in there.
Of course.
I'm way more in the day to day of Google and YouTube than I am on Amazon. There are ways you can. Amazon will allow you to email your
Mm-hmm.
customers.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of restrictions, right? You can't
Mm-hmm.
email them and push them to your store and things like that. You can run remarketing ads, through Amazon DSP, and there's a couple other ways to do that to drive people back to your store. You can do some things, with your package inserts on Amazon, although you got to be careful. There's some pretty strict terms of service there. So really, I think if you lean into customer service where you're really available, if someone has issues, if you are building a brand on Amazon, and then one of the better strategies that I've seen is people that will say, hey, we're not going to put the full catalog on Amazon, right? So we're going to put maybe our kind of bread and butter products, top sellers, sure, but when we have new releases, new styles, new flavors, new whatever, they're just going to be available on our site for the first 3, 4, 5, 6 months, 8 months, whatever. And we're going to kind of train people to maybe shop our store first. So I think there's some strategies you can use there. But to get back to your point on measurement and LTV, it's still relatively hard to measure. There's some tools now, and I'll mention one that we're pretty excited about. It's called Nozzle. And I don't remember how to spell that, but Nozzle. And it does a really good job at finding new to brand. So it's going to kind of sift through your data and tell you, hey, this is truly new to brand or not. Amazon does an okay job of that too. LTV is harder. I know Northbeam is working on a solution to kind of pull data from Amazon. And the nice thing too, and I think this is going to be a trend we're going to see, is data is going to expire, right? And it already is, right? But we're going to see this with GA4 when it comes out, that the default's going to be like, I think 2 or 3 months. You gotta like force it to do 14 months, but data's going to go away. Same is true on Amazon. Data goes away. So you tie it into a third party, or you pull your data into something like, Looker Studio or whatever. Now you can kind of analyze it. So I think to really calculate LTV, you're going to have to do some of those things, maybe use a third party. But I know it is trickier. It's one of those things where LTV should be, I mean, in theory, you're like, should be easy to calculate. It's really not. Like it's hard even with a Shopify store and even with data you own, and it's even harder on Amazon. But I do think that will get easier through a few tools here in the future. So.
Got it, Brett. Man, that's so many knowledge bombs here. So really appreciate it. Where can people find out more about everything that you got going on? I know you mentioned the guide for PMAX and the other amazing guides that you have. Where can people find out more about you and just learn what you got in touch?
Yeah, really appreciate it. So kind of the best way is just omgcommerce.com. That's where you can get in touch if you want chat agency stuff or look at an audit or something like that. Of course, we have the guides. So there's a couple of Amazon guides, Amazon DSP, Amazon Sponsor Brand Video, which is one of my favorite ad types. There's a YouTube ad examples, and this is relatively updated, where just some of my favorite, YouTube ads. You'd recognize all of them because I know VidTao covers these amazing ads on YouTube. But there's a kind of my favorite ads, or our top YouTube ad examples guide that's free. The Performance Max is there. I've done some paid courses with Smart Marketer, so in partnership with Ezra Firestone. So if you want to check those out, they're all available through EzraSmartMarketer.com. There's a Performance Max Blueprint. Just launched like a full Amazon course on how to launch, how to scale on Amazon, which is pretty cool and is doing well. So you can check that out as well. And then, hey man, I'm trying to get on the socials. I don't know what you're doing, Ian, but I've been like so focused on building a business that I started a Twitter account in like 2009 or something, and then I took about a decade off or whatever. But I'm back on Twitter, so it's just at Brett Curry, Brett with 2 T's. So I'm trying to post regularly and just post some good stuff on D2C and video and Amazon and whatnot. And then LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the Brett Curry, and so pretty active there. So would love to catch up with anybody on Twitter or on LinkedIn, and keep the conversation going.
Awesome, Brett. Great stuff. We'll post that in the description here. And thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge and just continue to put out all the great stuff that you do. And yeah, I really appreciate you being on our show.
Awesome, man. Thank you. And I was mentioning before we hit record, but I love what you guys are doing. I was talking about like your newsletter is must-read content for me and my team. And so if someone's listening and not subscribed to your newsletter, they've got to fix that. It's pure gold. And really one of the best ways you learn YouTube is by watching good examples. And so you guys help uncover those. So big fan on this side as well.
Awesome, Brett. Really appreciate that. Well, Happy New Year to you and your family, and stay warm out there in the Midwest, and fingers crossed for your NFL hopes and dreams there.
Thank you. That's awesome, Ian. Thank you, man. Really appreciate it. And this was super fun.
Awesome, Brett. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks.
See you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for this episode of VidTao Podcast. Again, my name is Ian Nagy, co-founder of VidTao, and really appreciate you having a listen. And it means a lot. So if you have any feedback, go ahead and email us at info@vidtao.com. Love to hear your ideas for future shows, future guests. If you want to be a guest, let us know. Love to chat. Also, just as a reminder, this show has been sponsored by VidTao, which is our free YouTube ad library. VidTao.com. Again, you can go to VidTao and look up over 1 million ads at this point inside of VidTao. They're all unlisted YouTube ads. You can see what your competitors are running, track the results on a day-by-day basis, find new ads inside of our YouTube ad library, VidTao. And we also have a premium edition of VidTao. So the library is free to access, but for full unlimited access to the library, we have a premium edition of VidTao. We also have training from our Inceptly.com agency, which is our sister company to VidTao, where we've managed over $150 million on YouTube. We provide training on media buying, creatives, tracking, copywriting, everything in between. It's all there inside of VidTao Premium. And right now we're running a very special deal on VidTao Premium. And you can go claim that right now at vidtao.com. When you sign up for free, you'll see the offer to join Premium, and go there and check that out. And last thing, we also do free brainstorm calls with our agency Inceptly. Go to inceptly.com/call. And we love brainstorming with you on your video advertising and just marketing in general. Love to chat. So inceptly.com/call, CALL. Would love to speak with you. So thanks again for joining us, and looking forward to the next show. In the meantime, have a great week.